Please open up document number 5, links, and open Common Look. All right. Now, okay, so like I said, we are going to run the verification on this one because the Fix Wizard is going to help us out with some stuff. But that being said, we're on, I think it's like page 10 of something. Yeah, we're on page 10. So we're obviously not going to have an H1. So when we run our verification, we're going to get a failure for fixed heading level or for skipped heading levels because we start with an H2 here at bibliography. Okay, so can we all just file that away that we're going to get a failure for skipped heading levels, but in a real world situation we wouldn't because we have an H1 somewhere else in the document, right? Okay, cool. Now that being said, remember the checklist at the beginning of the day under the optional part. One of the things was look over what's going on in your tables to see whether or not you can get away with doing a full cleanup. The other thing was look over your document to see what's going on and see if you can just artifact all of the images and get them out of your way. For example, when we were working on the first document, we had the seal of the state of Oregon at the beginning, but then we had those lines underneath the headings later on, right, that we could artifact. Don't necessarily want to artifact all images there because we needed the seal of the state of Oregon to be in a figure tag. However, when we get to this page, the only graphical stuff on this page are the lines underneath the links, right? So if you have a document that is just like a whole bunch of lines underneath links or tables where the lines, the borders on the table, the shading and whatever, that's all graphical stuff. But it doesn't convey any important information. It doesn't need to be tagged, right? It doesn't need to be placed in figure tags. So if that's the only thing that's going on in your document, one thing you can do is right click on the tag root and choose Artifact All Images. And then that'll get those lines to go away. Now, if you're going to do that, you want to make sure then to go to the Settings tab and make sure that Untagged is unchecked, right? So that you don't bring them back when you're highlighting stuff and tagging it. Okay? So, that being said, we can pretty much ignore the first part of the tag tree. It's all a bunch of paragraph tags with stuff. So, okay, we get down to the H2 for bibliography. And then we have links, which is the point of this particular exercise, right? So there's a couple of ways to go about fixing what's going on. In the physical view, you see a hyperlink, right? You know that it's actually a hyperlink because when you hover the mouse over it, you get the little W in the wrist, right? That's how you know it's an actual link, right? The little W in the wrist. So in this paragraph tag right below the H2 for bibliography, if you open that up, you'll see the text, right? Department of Environmental Quality, blah, blah, blah. And then there's an annotation, which those of you who have remediated things in Acrobat before, you've seen for links, the object reference, right? The OBJR. Is that familiar? Right? So the annotation is the interactive part of a link and of a form, right? Because they're very similar. So the annotation in a link is the thing that actually takes you to that website, okay? And then, of course, you've got the hyperlinked text. Now, we're going to take a step to the side for a second. Those of you who are authoring documents or creating them or editing them in Word or whatever, there's good stuff and bad stuff to use when creating hyperlinks. Okay? Bad stuff includes a URL that you can't really figure out where it's going to take you. Right? Other bad stuff when creating links are the words click here, right? Or just link. Right? Because like you put in the document, go here to follow this, go here to read about the whatever, and then link. And the link is the active part that takes you to that other web page or whatever, right? Remember that I said earlier, people who are using screen readers can scan through the document listening to just headings. or just lists or just tables. You can also scan through a document listening to just the links. All right? But if all of your links just say click here, how does somebody know where the here is going to take them until they go there, realize, oh shoot, that's not where I wanted to go. I got to come back, find which click here they left off at, right? And try it again, right? Also, if you've got just a really long URL that's kind of cryptic, who wants to hear http://www, like, right? That's not really informative. And what is somebody listening to it? Somebody listening to the URL with a screen reader, what, going to then type in the URL? No, they're going to follow the link. Even if you're blind, you can follow a link, right? If it's structured correctly, right? Because the keyboard navigation allows that to happen. Okay. So if you're wearing your author hat, that's bad. What I would do, now I realize too, a lot of times authors want to put the URL on the page because if somebody's printing out the document and looking at it, you want them to then be able to type it in and go there, right? So what I would do if I was authoring this, I would hyperlink legislative publications and fact sheet. So somebody listening to the links knows that this one is going to take them there. Then I would put in the URL below, like here, but then I would not hyperlink the URL because for anybody who's using an electronic version of this document, I've made the functional part something that's also easy to understand. So from a document design, creation, authoring standpoint, does that make sense? Right? Okay. Now that being said, we're handed what we're handed. No, we have to fix it. Okay. So a properly tagged link. Now, to be clear on this very important point as well, remember from the workflow in the beginning, there's certain things that have to be done in Acrobat first, right? If you have to create a hyperlink, you have to do that either in the authoring program or in Acrobat. We can't create the hyperlink itself in Common Look. We can properly tag it, but the functionality is already there. Are we good on that one? All right. So a properly tagged link contains two parts. All right. So the link tag contains the text for the link and the annotation. All right. So that's step one with links. Properly tagged link contains the text and the annotation. So if I want to tag this up, I can see the annotation in the tag tree and I can see the text in the tag tree, but I don't have a link tag. So one way to do this is just to highlight the link in the physical view, make sure that I got both the annotation and the text of the hyperlink, right? And then in the Insert Tag tab in the ribbon, in the Other Tags group, not the drop-down, just the group, the first column, second button down, is to create a link tag, right? So highlight the text and the annotation and put it in a link tag. Okay? People are writing. I'll let you get that part down. And then there's one other really important piece of this. Do not push the link tag out of the paragraph tag. Right? So all day long we've been highlighting, tagging, pushing, and cleaning, right? Do not push your link tag out of the paragraph tag. Okay? Almost every tag can go right on the tag root, right? Paragraph, list, table, whatever. There are some tags that don't go on the tag root. Link is the first one that we're dealing with. So don't push it out. It's inside the paragraph tag where it got nested, and that's good. I'm going to close this text element. So you see the link tag contains the annotation and the text, right? If you close the link tag, you see that the annotation and the text are hidden because they're inside it, right? So that's how you know you got it right. Now, other bad authoring practices include having a link take up 2 lines of text, right? We've seen that. Not real great, okay? When that happens, you probably will have two annotations, and then you may or may not have two text elements, right? Depending on how it all works out. If you have two annotations and two text elements, right, from the two lines of your link, have your annotations together and then have your text together, okay? Or you have your text together and then your annotations, but don't have it go annotation, text, annotation, text, all right? So all of your annotations and then your text. And of course, you want everything to be in the correct order. So the top annotation, then the second annotation, then the top text, and then the bottom text for your two-line link. Does that make sense? Kind of picturing that? Okay? So that's one way to tag up a link, right? We got that one? So far, so good? Cool. Okay. The other way to do it is this. So for the second one, where it says Oregon DEQ history timeline, just highlight that whole line, right? This might seem weird, but trust the process, okay? So you've got that whole line highlighted, right? Put it in a new paragraph tag. So you're on Insert Tag, go to the button to create a new paragraph tag, right? So put in a new paragraph, and then, of course, it's nested. Your paragraph is nested inside a paragraph that was there. So go ahead and push that paragraph out, right? Now open up that paragraph tag that you just made, and look what you have inside. You have your link tag, and if you open it up, it's got the annotation and the text in it, right? This is incredibly helpful when you have, for example, a paragraph with a whole bunch of links in it, right? There's a highlight the whole paragraph, make a new one, push it where it goes, clean up if you need to, and then verify your links got put together correctly. But I've seen this work with about 97, 98% accuracy. So, all right. Works great for lists too, because you highlight your list, you create your list, and inside your L bodies are your links, right? So inside your tables are your links, and it's kind of a beautiful thing. But does that make sense? All right? Okay, so the link tag contains two pieces, the text and the annotation. It doesn't get pushed out, right? So it stays in the paragraph or the L body or the TD or the TH or whatever it might be in, right? Whatever structural tag. The reason being that links don't convey any structure, right? It's function. It's functional. Screen reader will say link so that somebody knows I can follow this, but it doesn't have any structural information to it, right? So let's run the verification so we can take care of the other piece of the link tagging equation. The structural check. We'll check your internet, Tony. So the structural check, right? So what this does, if it tests to make sure that everything's been built correctly, essentially. So if you've got a table, it's going to check to make sure the table tag contains table rows that have THs and TDs inside. The lists have list items that contain labels and L bodies. Okay? When you have links in your document, the structural check will also test to make sure that the links aren't broken. All right? So that's why I said we'll test the internet. If I'm not connected to the internet, then I'll get a failure for broken links, not because it's a bad link, but because I'm not connected to the internet. Now that being said, if you have links in your documents that take you someplace internal in the bar association where you would need to sign in to get there, Common Look doesn't know your login information, right? So if you run a structural check and you get a failure for links, but then you can click on the link in the document and you can actually go there because you can sign in, then it's not a broken link problem. It's a Common Look can't sign into your domain problem. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. If that message comes up in your results, right, in your report, you could put in a comment something like, link has been manually verified, right? Because it'll show the result, or it'll say in the table for your compliance report that the link is broken. But if you verified that the link is not broken, you just put that in there, and it'll be okay. So, anyways, we're going to run the ISO 32000 check. Hit full. Looks like, yeah. See, so I get the failure for, if we change our filter, right, to just what failed, what do we need to use to verify our warnings? So I get 2 failures. I can't go to the links, right? Now, that being said, I was doing this with a health insurance company, and they were working on their documents. So they were rolling out this new program, right? And so they were working on the documentation for the program while the web development team was working on the website. So the links were there. They knew what the URLs were supposed to be, and by the time it got released, the URLs were going to work. But right now, they didn't work because that web page wasn't built yet, right? So they got failures for broken links, but by the time it actually went live, the links were going to be fine, right? So just kind of keep that in mind when you get that. So anyways, I just wanted to touch on that. Open up accessibility. Choose WCAG 2.0 and run your full check. Okay? Now we get more failures, right? So the first one is for our first link. And the failure is that the parent tag of the link annotation doesn't have alt text. Just like figure tags need to have alt text, so do link tags. Okay? And we fail here because we don't have alt text on our link tag. The second failure is for the annotation itself not having contents, which is essentially just like alt text, only assigned to an annotation as opposed to the link tag. Right? Now, when I fix these, I always fix the link tag alt text question, not the annotation question. I'll show you why. I am going to fix it, but it'll come second. So when you get to the parent tag of the link annotation, right? Are you all with me so far? Okay. So when I right click on that and choose fix, Common Look takes the text that's inside the link tag and makes that the alt text for the link, right? Now, like I said, I would have rather had legislative publications and fact sheet, right? So I'm actually going to get rid of the alt text that's there, the URL. I'm going to abbreviate for the sake of poor typing and time. So legislative pubs and facts, right? So when I put that in, go ahead and hit finish. You're going to notice then that not only did that fix the failure for the link not having alt text, but it also addressed the failure for the link annotation not having contents. Because when I click on the next failure now, it takes me to the second link, right? Okay. So again, I can do the same thing. Right click, hit fix, and this one I actually would make DEQ history timeline, for example. Hit finish. Here's our heading level skipped, right? Because our first heading is in H2 in the document, right? Because we don't have an H1, so I'm just going to ignore that. So now this one, the tab order on page 1 is not set to follow the document structure. If I show edit checkpoint status, it's not defined by the structure tree, right? The structure tree is also known as the tag tree. So we need to set this up so that when somebody is navigating through the document, hitting the tab key on the keyboard, it follows the order of the tags, right? Because this is a failure, if I right click and choose fix, then I actually only get one fix option to solve the issue, right? So just go with it and hit finish. And if you notice over here now in the properties panel, this was on unspecified, and it just changed to S, the radio button for S. That's to follow the document structure, right? So that's all set. When you have a document with links or forms in it, then the tab order needs to follow the tag tree, right? Then we have one more for displaying the document title, right? We've seen that one before, right? So just go ahead and hit finish, okay? Now I'm going to skip down, scroll all the way down in your results panel. Find the warnings, right? So you have two regarding link annotations, right? So the first one, when I click on the first warning for link annotations, it takes me back to the first link, right? So we failed for not having alt text or contents, but when we got alt text, then the other one just became a warning. Now watch this. If you right click and hit fix, Common Look is going to take whatever alt text you assign to the link tag and use that as the contents for the annotation, right? The annotation is inside the link tag, right? So kind of like the alt text flows downhill. This is why I take care of the link tags first, because then the contents is going to come out correct and be the same. You want to have the same contents that matches the link tag's alt text, right? If you change the contents, it doesn't trickle up to get to the link tag, right? So you change the link and it flows down to get the annotation inside, okay? So that being said, now that it's here, I can just hit finish, right? And then we've got one other one for the second link. Oops, wrong button. Hit fix, DEQ history timeline, right? And then I can hit finish again. Then continuing on in the warnings, we have two untagged paths, which it's doing that thing again. It's the lines, right, underneath the links, which we untagged, we artifacted intentionally. So Common Look put it in an artifact container. We can just mark that as passed. Once you've taken care of the alt text, right, so if I skip back up to the user verification items, right, then the first user verification item takes me to the first link, and it's asking me to verify that the alt text is good, right? But I typed it in myself. I checked my work. There it is. I'm happy with it. I can just mark it as passed. Similarly, it's going to ask me to make sure that the contents for the annotation is correct as well, right? So yeah, you're putting your eyes on it a bunch of times, but once you realize that you're doing that, you can kind of pass through things faster, right, once you get the pattern. Does this make sense? Okay. Y'all just seem like you're just beat up now. Wow. Shouldn't have told you this was hard. So, DEQ history timeline, right? We can mark that as passed for the alt text and for the contents as well. And then there's actually no other things in the results panel that we haven't already seen, right? We get color, we get contrast, we get verify the title, verify the language, and there's no header or footer pagination artifacts, right? So are you with me? Yeah? Okay, cool. Any questions? Important takeaways. Create the links in the authoring program or in Acrobat before you get into Common Look. Link tags contain two parts, the annotation and the text. Don't push link tags out of their structural tag. Link tags get alt text, annotations get contents. The alt and the contents should match for each link. Did you get all that? Yeah, Tony's recording it too. Fine. Right? Okay. Any questions? How do we make it stop? All right. If you're good with this, then we can save and close, or not save.